Hello everyone and welcome back to Whisky Wednesday, and today I'm doing something which has been quite highly requested. It is the Glenturret 12-year-old. This is the 2022 release, 46% natural colour, non-chill filtered, fully matured in this wonderful sherry, and it comes in this rather stunning sort of fluted Lalique bottle. As you can see, quite a large chunk is missing out of this. And I've even kept the box, just to kind of show you guys the box that it comes in. Very simple, somewhat elegant presentation. The whole white and blue thing, very sort of regal. It's got some nice like accents on it. It even has some like checkerboard patterning on the box. As with all boxes, you get a brief history on the back. It's not too important though. I'm not that familiar with Glenturret as a style. I think for newer whiskey drinkers, and I mean people within maybe the last 10 years, it may have been a style of whiskey which has perhaps gotten away from us because of its prior ownership, its selection of whiskies, and indeed the somewhat confusing manner it used to sell whiskies. They are the oldest functioning distillery in Scotland. They produce peated and unpeated distillate, but they are more well known for their unpeated distillate, as is with this one. But even in this new range, they have a 10-year-old peated, I think a 7-year-old peated style too. But since being purchased by Lalique, or Lalique being involved with them, and taking on Bob Delgano, who used to be the master distiller at Macallan. I don't know if he's still the master distiller here. I would assume he is, but I can't see his name anywhere on the box or the bottle. It has very much gone for this Macallan uber sherry, rich style of whiskey. And I will say that when this was actually purchased, I was a little bit skeptical because it was £70 a bottle, which is still very expensive for a 12-year-old, but I will say that it has some very welcome surprises within it as well. But let's crack on with the review. I have the whiskey here. It's been resting in this glass for a while. Apologies for the pillows behind me. We're doing a little bit of renovating in the house, but that is quite a lovely orange natural colour. I've taken my time reviewing this because I really wanted this to open up in the bottle a little bit more. If you Google, like, you know, do whiskies need to breathe, there's a whole debate section on that and a bit of an argument section too. But I will say that with sherry cask whiskies and maybe things like red wine cask maturations, they do need a little bit more time. From my experience, they do get better. It's rare that I've had something very sulfured. Just trying to get this thing to give us a little bit of body and texture idea. It's quite an oily style. Coats the glass as nicely as you want a 46% whiskey to. And I have to give quite big props to Jeremy at Social Sippers Club and Rob at Whisky in the Six, because they were big champions of this bottle. I watched their sort of weekly podcast and they were drinking it recently when they were talking about bottle designs and the artistry within bottles. And something I have to agree with them with, actually two things I have to agree with them with, is that it does have that classic Macallan chocolate orange note. It doesn't come across as rich as Macallan's used to because it was really pronounced like orange fondant, chocolate orange sort of thing. This is in there and it's hidden amongst the midst of some other very sort of powerful classic sherry flavours. But within this thing we have like lemon pepper, cardamom. There are some really beautiful oily notes of almost like olive oil. Like it's super dense and thick. There is the classic raisin sultana Christmas cake thing. But there's these really bright lemony citrus notes. I'm a bit of a sucker for lemon. It's like my favourite flavour in anything, or smell in general. And even amongst all this heavy, dark, rich sherry, bright, tingly, lemony notes to accompany this chocolate and orange and earthy spices of like cardamom. Even on the smell then, there's like a little bit of ginger, there's a little bit of vanilla. And still that, I love the smell of olive oil, I love the taste of olive oil, and it just has a little bit of it in there. The box has some sweeter tasting notes on it. It talks about custard, like vanilla custard, fruit pie, caramelized apples, cinnamon. Not that far away really from what I'm saying, sweetness with some earthy spices. But you can smell that for a long time. But let's taste it. Has a weighty, heavy arrival. The first notes you kind of get, it's not peat, but it's almost like the tiniest bit of wood smoke. Could also be mistaken for a little bit of that matchstick sulfur, but I mean like this much. It's like the first initial wave of flavour. What comes through next is woodiness, which brings me to my second point that Rob and Jeremy brought up, is that this thing drinks significantly older than what it says on the bottle. I don't want to take a guess as to what is in it because people may take that as like concrete information and I do not know. But I wouldn't be surprised if there is like 15, 16-year-old whiskey in this. Maybe some 18-year-old stuff, perhaps even older. That's a bit ridiculous though, because the balance and the influence of the wood that is just like tingling around the sides of my tongue. It is just like what I expect of things like Macallan 18. And those sort of flavour notes that sort of sensation reminds me of like ginger and vanilla again. And it's just like this nice fizzy spice around the sides of your tongue. As you develop and chew on the whiskey a little bit more, we are getting some classic notes again, chocolate, raisin. That cinnamony thing I can kind of get, but it comes across more to me as again like ginger and vanilla. And even talking to, the finish on this thing, for a 12-year-old whiskey, is so lengthy and interesting. Getting that kind of bitter orange rind. There's a really tasty like Italian red vermouth note running through this. Very kind of cocky Americano, Campari sort of thing. And that again backs up nicely with like bitter orange notes. It's an awesome bottle of whiskey. It is on the pricier side for a 12-year-old. But I think overall, thinking about other 12-year-olds in the market, things like Glenallachie 12, Macallan 12, etc., etc., I think I would lean and take this over them. Some firm favourites of the year so far have been things like Glengarry 12 and Loch Lomond 14. I still prefer those whiskies, but if someone said to me, do you want a heavily sherried 12-year-old? I think I'd currently take this over Glenallachie 12. I'd certainly take it over Macallan 12, Dalmore 12, etc., etc. So for that, I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10. It is stunning. If you haven't tried it, please, I hope you get to in a bar, a sample online. Your local whiskey shop might have a bottle of it open. But yes, thank you all for watching. This is the Glenturret 12-year-old 2022 release, and that is an 8.5 out of 10.